Good afternoon, traders. This is Christian from Tribeca Trade Group, and it is Monday, January 23rd. Let's go through the themes of the day. Before we do that, risk disclaimer in front of you. Everything that we're going through is for information purposes only, not giving out any advice or recommendations. This video will be kind of short. I've been battling a cold all weekend, so we'll keep the video short and concise for today. But once again, super strong breath. You could look at a couple different things here, but our indicator that looks at that associates up volume and down volume. We saw that, very similar. We saw that on Friday, and we're continuing to see, strong breadth. That's been a theme of this year so far. We know that we've got, NYSE and NASI bullish crossovers, which, have been showing us graphically that we've got an expansion in breadth. And, these technical signals will kind of help you, formulate some decisions. With all of this, I would say, like, if you turn on financial media, or even if you go through Twitter and the most liked posts, a lot of them are bearish looking posts, and full under, and I think everyone has a point to make in terms of, valuation and earnings, and there's a tremendous wall of worry right now. But sometimes that's when markets do rally, is when there's a lot of really bearish sentiment out there. So I think that's kind of what we're seeing as well. And when you concentrate on signals like expanding market breadth, right, and different areas of the market participating, we've seen going back a couple weeks ago, to before the year started, we saw industrials outperform. We saw different groups in the materials space outperform, which are not recessionary. And then you kind of look to what we're seeing so far this year, and it's been all growth. Growth you could see from this performance here to the right. The VUG ETF is up 8.4% year to date versus value. Again, I wouldn't have predicted that, as far as that has gone, growth versus value. But, what we try to do every day is be as objective as possible and come in and look for the signals. I have not been bullish on growth at all. If you've been watching my videos for the year of 2022, really, now I'm participating in that group more because it's showing some signs of bottoming. It's showing some signs of momentum. Whether that momentum is short term or long term, we have to wait and see for that. But it's giving some really good short term trading opportunities, right? And that's what it's all about. Is finding where the strength is. And seeing the semiconductors. This was a group that we started to talk about last week, showing some relative strength versus the Qs and versus the overall market. It's tough because sometimes you may be a little bit early. I like to find these things before most do, but sometimes when I'm a little bit early, sometimes the market's not ready yet. I legged into a couple positions last week, a little bit too early. Cadence which was a chart that I was showing around. Nasdaq, not Nasdaq, Nvidia, which we'll go over those. We'll go over some of these charts here in just a second. But again, like, if I would think, like, if you can, if you can cover your ears for a minute in terms of not this video, but in terms of the rhetoric that you hear about, the coming recession, which now, everybody has been saying this for 6, 7, 8 months about the recession. So, if the recession does come, haven't the expectations been brought down? But my point is, if you could cover your ears with some of this, and just look at the price action and look at the rotation that you're seeing into different groups, I would think that you would be pretty happy, trying to just by basically just following the price action. And that's what technical analysis is for, is to give you a sense whether some things are actually, bottoming, before the economy. Remember, the economy and the market are two different things. I heard this, for as much as everybody, sometimes criticizes CNBC, someone said this, I think a woman said that on their halftime show, and I agree. The market, stocks and the economy are two different things. So so anyway, I'll go on because I think that there's some interesting levels to watch here. So we did kind of break back through, remember everybody made a big stink about price got to the 200-day moving average and then fell back. And, even one of my questions once we got to this level and got rejected was, hey, are we going to start to really fall back here like we've done previously? For example, like here was a good example. We rose up, had a real nice move back in July and August up to the 200-day moving average and failed, and then started to really kind of move down, small move up, and then so on and so forth. And then of course we did this towards the end of November, and also got rejected into the 200-day moving average. Now, again, we tried again here and got failed. So I've made the point in past videos that the more times you test something, eventually you're going to break through. So, that could be what we're seeing today. That is a close back above the 200-day moving average. And I think that's interesting. And I do have a level for you to watch too, because when we look at, as I go through and do multiple time frame analysis, we did hit this virgin point of control. Again, virgin point of control will tell you where there's overhead supply, right? So we backed right, we rose right into this 40.54. This is something that, again, I put out these charts to members first thing in the morning and talked about, hey, I didn't know that we were going to go all the way through the value area either like this. Pretty wide value area. But, if we can take this out, which we did, and we can kind of sit back and maybe digest a little bit, the market got really hot very quickly from where we were in 2 days. So very fast markets, both to the downside. Wednesday and Thursday of last week. Friday was a big day and some continuation from there. So if we can hang above in S&P futures, this 40-30, you can round up 40-35 level, make some, you can, what's nice about the technicals, again, is you can make some decisions. I'm going to be long versus this. And if that doesn't work, I'm going to reduce my exposure. That's how I would kind of handle this. And again, it doesn't have to be exactly right here. You don't have to cut all your risk, but, if we start to kind of move back, that's important. Plus, we've got a lot of earnings reports that are going to be coming. Another thing that I think is interesting is that everybody seems to think that these earnings reports are going to be awful. Now, again, they may be, and stocks may continue to sell off on that, but I'm not sure. We were just, someone was just saying this in our trading room, in the TTG trading room as well, saying, I don't remember ever seeing seeing and hearing such low expectations for earnings. So that's going to be interesting. I think we get Microsoft after the close tomorrow, we get Tesla this week as well. And then we get more and more companies that are reporting. All right, so that's the S&P. Before I just get away from this, again, the more that you could look at some of these things, right, to give you some hints on what the overall market is doing, rather than some of these posts that you see that some posts that I see on Twitter, I just shake my head at, because it's just some people, I'm not going to name any names, but they just come up with like, oh my God, like it's like what was the nursery rhyme? Money. Sorry, let me get the right reference for you. All right, the reference that I was thinking of is Henny Penny, right? The sky is falling, right? That's not the right analysis, in my opinion. Again, I'm sorry to be a little bit critical and kind of go a little bit of a rant here. I said I was going to be concise. I apologize. But, this is important in analysis. If you're following someone that they have someone that they say something very negative, right? And once that is disproved or invalid, right, then they go on to the next thing to tell you that that's the next shoe to drop, right? That's not really, in my opinion, good analysis, right? That is just, you're constantly thinking that the sky is falling. And, if you're trying to trade that way, it's going to be very difficult for you. All right. So again, it's good to do your analysis. It's good to be objective. But if you're always thinking about what is going to, what is going to go wrong? You'll never make a decision. So again, there's a fine line between doing objective analysis and going over 100 different things and finding one thing that's negative and focusing on that. All right. So anyway, I'll move away from that analysis, but RSP, right, has been above. This is the equally weighted ETF. And the equally weighted Qs is also, moving above the moving average, right? And here's what the Qs look like as well. Now, bottom line, Qs are still, Nasdaq futures are still below the 200-day moving average. Now, bottom line here, right? Again, I'm not getting like over the skis, over the tips of my skis bullish here, because when we look at the weekly chart, what do we see here? Right, we are inside the value area, and if you look on the top left, it says range bound. We are sideways, so understand that we're still in a very sideways. Even though we've got above the 200-day moving average, I think overall, using volume at price, we're very sideways and we're range bound. Now, sure, we can explore both ends of the range, but I would keep that in the back of your mind to say, we're not out of the woods, and we won't be for a while until we really get back above 42.57 in my opinion. But that doesn't mean that we can't find trades and capitalize on relative strength and capitalize on trending areas of the market. Let's talk about the big mover of the day, right? The semiconductors. Here's what this looks like on the weekly chart. It's pretty positive. It's starting to move higher here. Right. And if you go one by one through the charts, of course, some of these small cap names, so look at that. We did take out a VPOC there in SMH right at 238. But but if you go through some of these names, I mean, AEHR, I tweeted this out talking about, a couple of weeks ago, and I'll retweet it. But I was talking about how the object of earnings for me is to find new leadership for the quarter. Not just try to find the names that are going to move on earnings. So when I tweeted this out, when the stock was at around 26, people told me that no, you missed it. You missed it on earnings, right? That was the time to get long prior to earnings. In my opinion, I would argue no. You can wait until what they have to say. Notice the volume afterwards. That was when the stock was at 22. The stock's at $34, right? Look at the move since the earnings day. 23 to 35. Now, yes, if you would have caught it here at 17, that's beautiful, up to 22 as well. But the majority of the move has taken after the earnings, right? You're going to find this over and over. Why is this? It's because the institutions are not positioned that way, and they will also wait and listen to what a company has to say on earnings. And if they're under positioned in it, you better believe that they're going to start buying it after their earnings. So don't get confused by this, thinking that you've got to time the exact move, and if you don't, you can't participate in the name. That is complete BS. All right. Now again, you don't want to chase. Would I buy it up here? No, I wouldn't. But it did give an opportunity, and this was something that we went over on Friday. Watching the move out of the value area occur, and that was when it was at 29. Stock's up $5 from there. If you go through, and we'll spend a little bit of time here, but ACLS. This is a name that I own in a TTG trend portfolio, but look at the momentum in this name. Do you think that this is a bear market rally in this name, breaking out to all-time highs? I don't think so. So again, even though the overall market is sideways, there are things like this, right? I thought Nvidia was really, really strong today, up 7.5%. That made a really nice move out of value. AMD got an upgrade earlier, but if you look at this AMD chart, again, it's still below. This has not been a leader. In fact, this has been a laggard. But you look at this weekly chart, and it's pretty darn constructive. Now, again, they're going to have to get through earnings. That's going to be a big thing. That's on the 31st. But again, made a lower high here and trying to come out of this move. 71.90 is the bottom of value to basically, trade against. I did take a position in this towards the end of the day. I was busy day trading a lot of different things, but I thought that as long as you have a level to trade against, right, where you're not going to get hurt. In terms of where your stop price is. All right, so that's that. But again, if you go through, like, there was a call buyer in ADI today, towards the end of the day. Analog devices, you can. So again, this one hasn't even triggered yet, right? You could watch right around 170, right, and that would be a move out of value. Applied Materials, which I think actually got a downgrade today, was up 4%. This was a name that I was watching last week. Notice kind of the same thing, like a little bit of a test of value, and then boom, outside of value. And of course, like, Clack, I think made a new high today, if that's right. Look at that stock. That name is going to report as well. Click is another one too, probably not on top of people's watch list, but I think that's pretty interesting. So I could go through a couple more of these, but the whole group was very strong today. And again, if you've been reading some of my posts on Substack, I mentioned this in the middle of last week. I think it was Tuesday or Wednesday, talking about some semis were really starting to perk up and show strength. All right. Other groups, you can kind of go through. I mean, there's a lot of different names. Etsy, something I'll be watching. This just broke value again after kind of testing this a couple times last week. Square was a name I traded today. I didn't hold it, even though it closed on the highs today. I was just happy to take some of these names that moved. This thing moved 7% today. I think I bought it after I chased a little bit today. Looking at my trades for the day, I went into Square at around 78. So I mean, I got a nice few dollars out of it. TMDX, which was a name that I bought on Friday, made a new high today. So so on and so forth. So I don't want to take too much time in this video. I will try to send out some names that I'm watching, maybe later tonight or possibly tomorrow, because as I said, I'm not feeling well, but even I thought the energy group was, well, it was actually flat. Sorry, I thought that they were a little bit stronger, but this was also a group that I was watching, like Matador, which has shown these kind of V recoveries. Go below the 200-day moving average, rally, below the 200-day moving average, rally, below the 200-day moving average, rally. Other areas there, there were a couple names that I saw made a new 52-week high today in the energy space, and they were the refiners. Valero made a new high today. MPC, which was a name I traded last week. Unfortunately, I didn't stay with it, but that was out and made a new 52-week high today. So so that's the story, guys. Good participation, and you've got a nice, easy level to watch in the S&P. Don't forget, the Fed speakers are done for the week. We will have our Fed meeting come February 1st next week, right? And in the spotlight this week, I think is going to be mostly earnings, as well as we also have I think we have another inflation data that's the PCE deflator, which is coming up. That is going to be later in the week on the 27th. Okay, so that'll be something to watch as well. If you're not a member of Tribeca Trade Group, check it out. You get a half off your first month, 50% off your first month. Give it a try. See how we go through our analysis. See how we break down charts. Our watch list for the week. Of course, it did pretty well on a day like this, but Square was one of the setups, and members get, we have this channel in Slack called Charts, and this is where I post all the setups, basically from where we start. But I go through one by one, and talk about this, give the setup for each. I give a trigger for each, which is above the market price for where we start the week. And but yeah, I mean, I even missed the one that was one of my favorite setups to kind of come into the week, which was a biotech named Life Sciences. Bruker also broke out today, so we'll see if that one continues to move higher. But that was a nice setup. This was up 3.3% for the day. All right, guys, that is it for today's video. Have a great night. See you tomorrow.